Maryland's cornerbacks will be the key to stopping Illinois' offense.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thank you for making us part of your day. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more right now. New customers get to bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Maryland's cornerbacks will be the key to stopping the Illinois offense on Saturday at 3:30. I was looking over Illinois' team, and I already had a basic idea of what they have done this year. They've gone 2-4. They have a solid team. It's nothing special. They have really good players at certain spots, and maybe their best player overall, especially on offense. They have another really good player on defense that we'll get more into tomorrow. But on offense, maybe their best player overall this year is Isaiah Williams. He is one of the best wide receivers in the country by stats, by the way he runs, the way he looks, the way he runs routes, the way he gets deep. He is one of the best wide receivers in the country right now, and the stats prove it. He has 38 receptions for 503 yards this season and has the 25th most yards in all of college football. That might not sound like a lot, but think about how many receivers are in college football and how many good receivers are in college football. And he has around 500 yards, like I said, but there are a ton of guys in that top 25 that are hovering around that 500-yard mark. With a good game against us, he could easily enter like the top 15, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we're able to stop him. But if you didn't think that was impressive, he's number one in the entire Big Ten in receiving yards. Number one. It's not Marvin Harrison. It's not Emeka Mbuka. It's not Roman Wilson at Michigan. It's not Jayshon Jones at Maryland. It's this guy. Isaiah Williams is the number one wide receiver in terms of receiving stats in the Big Ten. He has 4 more yards than Marvin Harrison this year. So what does this tell me? I was looking around at their overall team, and I think it's important, and I think it's our number one thing is stopping this guy. So our cornerbacks are the key to this game because this guy gets their offense going. He creates big chunk plays overall that we absolutely cannot have happen. He had 49-yard catch against Purdue, a 45-yard catch versus FAU. Every single game he has a long that's above like 25 yards. He gets big plays down the field. And the thing is, he's not the biggest guy. He's only like 5'10", but he's got some speed on him. So I think if the Maryland cornerbacks can stop him, it can go a far way in beating this Illinois team because I don't see a ton of other guys that really scare me on this offense. Don't get me wrong, Illinois has some very good players on their team and some good players on their offense. And other wide receivers are good players. They have a good tight end. They have other good players, but nobody that scares me that I think can just beat us. But I think this guy can single-handedly, yes, he's that good. I think single-handedly can make the game into maybe something it shouldn't be as close or make a couple plays that keeps them in the game when I think about what he can do. Maybe he catches a 50-yard touchdown over the top on one of our cornerbacks, and instead of 21-10, it's 21-17 or something like that. I can see him creating a couple plays down the field or in the screen game or anywhere on the field, and that can really turn the game upside down and make it a lot closer than it should be. And like I was saying, the other guys on their offense, they don't scare me. I don't think they can do the same things that he does overall. It's not like Ohio State where they have Harrison and Mbuka and Stover, and they have like Fleming, who was a former 5-star number 1 wide receiver and the class that he was in. It's not like Ohio State where it's like we're worried about so many different guys, and then you also have to put Marvin Harrison in there, and you're like, oh my gosh, they have the best wide receiver in the country, maybe the best 2. It's not like that against Illinois. They have Obviously, they have Isaiah Williams, like what I'm talking about, who's a really good player. But the next top wide receiver is Pat Bryant, who has 231 yards, and then Casey Washington, who has 177 yards. And for reference, Maryland's quite the opposite. They have three guys above 300 yards. So we're the definition of balance in our wide receiver room. So if you need some type of reference, think about it like that. We get the ball to a lot of guys. They get this guy the ball a lot, and he gets a lot of receptions. He gets a lot of yards. He has plenty of over 100 yards game this year, but it seems like every game, even if he doesn't go above 100 yards, he has at least like 60. He doesn't really have a quiet game, I would say, but if Maryland cornerbacks can stop him, I'm unsure of exactly how they're going to use him exactly, because he plays all over the place for them. They put him in the slot. They play him outside. But who's ever guarding him, or if we're matched up against him in man-to-man, or even if it's zone coverage, it's important for there to be no bust, because he'll take a 10-yard pass and make it a 60-yard gain. Or if he gets over the top like Marvin Harrison did, where Marvin Harrison was wide open against us because of a coverage bust, he'll go all the way for a touchdown. But the cornerbacks overall, I think, are the key to stopping this guy, and I think they can do that. I think we're going to be able to put a safety over the top of him. I think our defensive coordinator, Brian Williams, has a chance to do a couple of things to really stop him and make him overall make them into a one-dimensional team and force them to not allow them to just force feed this guy, Isaiah Williams, overall. And then I look at what we made Ohio State do. We turned Ohio State into a one-dimensional team against us. They couldn't run the ball. Kyle McCord was kind of all over the place, and Marvin Harrison still single-handedly beat us. I don't know if Illinois is good enough or overall in their other phases of their team to be like, oh, we can't run the ball. Oh, it's a pretty bad day. Oh, we scored 3 points offensively in the first half, but we're still going to get this guy Marvin Harrison the ball. I don't think he's quite as good at Marvin Harrison, but if you saw the game, my point is we forced Ohio State to be one-dimensional in the pass game, and Marvin Harrison still beat us for 163 yards and a touchdown, and almost single-handedly was able to kind of propel that Ohio State offense forward. So I'm looking at Illinois as a similar way to I look at Ohio State in terms of they've one of the best wide receivers in the whole entire country. He's a guy that can blow up your game plan, and that's why I think the cornerbacks are the key to stopping this Illinois offense. I don't think they're explosive enough everywhere else to be able to put up enough points to compete with the Maryland offense. So if the cornerbacks slow down Isaiah Williams, that will allow the offense and Talia Tagovailoa to start really be able to control the clock, be able to run the ball, be able to win the game, because they won't have to worry about outscoring Illinois and making it a shootout, because overall I think Isaiah Williams is a player that can kind of do that for them. I think he can make it into – he can score 14 points. He can have 2 touchdowns. He can have 150 yards if our secondary isn't matching up. And a big part of that is going to be if we get Tarheeb Still back. Tarheeb Still was out against Marvin Harrison, which it was hard to beat Illinois. I mean, it was hard to match up with Ohio State with Marvin Harrison without our best cornerback. So if he's back, that's going to be a big thing. I think he'll be a key. But I want to read what Coach Locksley actually had to say about Isaiah Williams. They put him in the slot. They motion him. They orbit motion. They find what I call touches for him. Then they try to get them as many touches as they can get him. It's a lot like what my philosophy is, that if your best player is getting opportunities, those big plays, those are explosive plays, tend to happen. And he's one of those guys for them that you see they make concentrated effort to try and get him involved, and whether it's quick screen, orbit motions, receiver sweeps, all different ways, and he's a talented player. I have a lot of respect for that kid's game. So Coach Locksley clearly thinks very highly of Isaiah Williams and was saying kind of what I thought. He's going to move around everywhere. So it's not just going to be Tarheeb still if he's matched up against him on the outside on a rep. It's not going to be Jaquan Shepard on the outside. It's going to be Glendon Miller in the slot. It's going to be a lot of different things, but I think Brian Williams will have a couple things up his sleeve to guard Isaiah Williams. Like I said, putting Bo Braid or Dante Trader over him, maybe doubling him in the slot if it's on a third down. I think there's a lot of different things that we can do against Isaiah Williams to stop him, but the cornerbacks are going to be the key to stopping Isaiah Williams. Does Mike Locksley deserve to be the mid-year Big Ten Coach of the Year? We'll talk about that after this message from FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Mike Locksley was just named the mid-year Big Ten Coach of the Year. Does he deserve that award? And can he maybe win Big Ten Coach of the Year this year? I want to say this. He absolutely deserves the mid-season Big Ten Coach of the Year. The Terps are 5-1, and they were started 5-0 for the first time since 2001. I don't think any other Big Ten team, I don't think any other Big Ten coach has done quite the job that Coach Locksley has done overall. You could look at Coach Harbaugh at Michigan and say he's done an awesome job. But that Michigan brand has been a brand forever. It's one of the blue bloods in college football. It's a brand that has been quite amazing and one of the best programs year in and year out in college football. You could put another coach in there, and they can do a similar thing to what Coach Harbaugh has done. He's done an awesome job, obviously, at Michigan. They're #2 team in the country. And there were times when they haven't been the best. And a couple years ago, a while back, before they just recently got on this new wave, where there was a lot of hate on Coach Harbaugh. He couldn't beat Ohio State at one point, but now it's 2 years in a row of them beating Ohio State. Maybe you could argue Coach Harbaugh, but like I say, that's a blue blood. They're able to recruit at the top of the level of the Big Ten. You could look at Coach Day at Ohio State. They're off to a good start. But have they been that impressive as us? They're also a blue blood in college football and can recruit anyone else. My point is what Coach Locksley has done to this program with not having the best recruiting classes ever, not having the most talent in the Big Ten. He's done a really good job at recruiting. He's definitely upped the recruiting and brought in some really good players, but it's not like he got 30, 50, 40 guys that are all 5 or 4-star guys. That's not what we have overall on this team. I actually looked at it before the podcast. We were 8th in the Big Ten overall in terms of stars on 247. So 247 on their website, if you look it up, you can see how many 4-star, 3-star, 5-star guys that the rosters are filled up with in every college team. And if you look at Maryland, we're 8th in the Big Ten right now with 16 4-stars and 61 3-stars. Teams in front of us, Michigan State, who we crushed, absolutely crushed them. Obviously, they're going through a lot with their coaching situation, and there's a lot going on there, but we still crush Michigan State, and we're a better team right now than Nebraska. We're a better team than Iowa. So overall, it's not like he's just been able to bring in a bunch of talent overall. He's developed guys, and he's made them better throughout the course of their careers at Maryland. I look at a guy like Glendon Miller. He's broken out this year. I think he's really good. Or maybe my favorite example, Ty Felton. Ty Felton didn't come in as a 4 or 5-star guy. He was a 3-star guy, but he's been developed, and now his junior year, he's arguably been our best receiver. So overall, he's developed guys, but he's also used the transfer portal really well. Mike Locksley has coming into this year, getting Caden Prather, getting Tyrese Chambers, getting Talia, which was a couple years ago now, but getting Talia and putting him in our program in position to win and getting a quarterback that will allow us to win games and having overall just a roster that he has developed, brought in guys that are already known and are already really good players. I think he's done a really good job of that, and I think he does deserve this midseason Coach of the Year in the Big Ten. But overall, this award isn't really for that. It isn't for bringing in Talia, isn't for bringing in transfers, isn't for doing that. It's for winning games and looking good doing that. But I think that's what he's done. He's brought these units together, and he's won games this year. We're 5-1 overall. We've crushed opponents. Everyone except for Ohio State, if they weren't in the game with us. He's done an awesome job this year in terms of winning games overall. And we're thought of as a top 4 team in the Big Ten now, behind Ohio State, behind Michigan, behind Penn State. After the big 3 that no one is really touching right now in the Big Ten, we're thought of the next best. I don't know the last time people would have said that Maryland was the 4th best team in the Big Ten. I don't think you could ever say that. We haven't had a winning record in the Big Ten yet. And Coach Locksley has a chance to do that this year with the 5-1 start. And even though the Ohio State game didn't go as planned, I still thought the game plan was awesome. I thought we coached really well that game. I think Coach Locksley had a great game plan, and the rest of the staff, Coach Williams, Coach Gaddis, our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, I think they had a really good game plan overall. And I think Coach Locksley was a big part of that. I think he outcoached Coach Day at Ohio State. If you had reverse teams and put – this is kind of a weird point, and maybe a lot of people aren't going to like this, but if you would have put Ohio State team on with all their talent, with what Maryland or what Coach Locksley's game plan was against Maryland, I think Ohio State probably would have blown out Maryland if he would have reversed the coaching and the teams. But he was able to give the Maryland Terrapins a chance to win the game against Ohio State in a game you arguably could have said Maryland definitely could have won. I argued it. And he's done that. He's brought us to be able to compete with an Ohio State. It was 10-10 at half. It realistically could have been 20-3. It could have been 17-3 at half. So overall, he's done an awesome job. And I think he's outcoached every single coach this year except for the Charlotte game. I thought the Charlotte game we came out flat, but he's outcoached everyone except for the Charlotte game, where we still won by a good amount. I forget the exact score. I want to say like 38-20. That might not be the exact score of the game, but we've covered the spread every single week except for last week against Ohio State. But I still think that wasn't on him. Like I said, I think he game planned really well. So overall, Coach Locksley has brought in a new light of this program, and we can't forget where this program was. 2019, 3 wins when he took over. 2021 already jumped up to 7 wins. 2022, 8 wins. So he's added a win every single year, and he's going to do it again. It's a visual representation that he's clearly doing his job and doing it well. If you're adding a win every single year and continuously climbing a mountain and starting 5-0 for the first time since 2001, I think he has the chance to be the Big Ten overall Coach of the Year with one thing that has to happen. He has to bring down Michigan or Penn State. If he brings one of them down and Maryland goes undefeated in the rest of the games that they'll be favored in, I think Coach Locksley wins Big Ten Coach of the Year. Maryland Terrapins will only have 2 losses on the season. They'll have a chance to put up 10 wins. They'll have a chance to have a really good bowl game. So overall, I don't know exactly how the award goes, if they value just straight winning and they always give it to Coach Harbaugh or they always give it to Coach Day or Coach Franklin. But if Maryland only loses 2 games in the Big Ten, I think Coach Locksley deserves to be the Big Ten Coach of the Year. But I think so far, he's my mid-year Big Ten Coach of the Year, and that's the award he just got. So overall, I think he's done a really good job with this program, And I think he set us up to compete. We're not going to be a top 4 team realistically anymore after next year because of the conference realignment and all the different people coming into the conference next year, Oregon, UCLA. But he has set it up so that we're going to be able to compete with those people in the Big Ten. But with the 5-0 start and then being 5-1, out-coaching Coach Day at Ohio State, basically out-coaching everyone so far, having really good game plan so far. Maybe there's a questionable play call here or there, but that happens with everyone. I think he deserves to be the Big Ten Coach of the Year. This Illinois game can tilt our rest of the season for better or for worse. I'll tell you about that after this ad from LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hires can feel like high-stakes wagers for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. A lot of people need jobs right now, and if you want to find someone amazing for your company, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. This Illinois game can make or break our season. It can be whether we see this season as a success, whether we see it as a failure. And I'm going to tell you why right now that this could be a defining game in a season-changing game. Coming off a loss to Ohio State, this is the first time this year that the Maryland Terrapins have battled some adversity. But this team is still 5-1, and we have a chance to get to 10 wins. 10 wins in college football is great for your program. Unless you're maybe Alabama, Georgia, one of those teams. If you're getting the 10 wins consistently, which we're not doing yet, obviously, but if teams that get to 10 wins consistently are the top teams in the country. You look at Georgia, you look at Alabama, you look at some of the Big Ten guys, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. They consistently get to 10 wins. If Maryland can find a way to get to 10 wins, it can be a truly amazing season. But this Illinois game, like I said, coming off the first-time adversity this year against Ohio State and the first time us losing a game, this game can tilt our season because it's going to be a chance either to rebound and regroup and get going and make another statement win and get to 6-1. 6-1 looks really good so far this year. This, like I said, before the season, I was like, Illinois is a really good team. They could definitely beat us. This is a swing game. They have some really good players. Like I talked about Isaiah Williams. They have a guy on their defensive line named Newton that's going to be a first-round draft pick. We'll talk about him tomorrow. But it can be a chance to rebound, like I said, move to 6-1, beat Illinois. I want to say we're 14-point favorites. It's either 14 or 10-point favorites. I need to check that. We'll talk about if Maryland will cover the spread tomorrow. But we're big-time favorites. I'm pretty sure it's 14 points. So it can be either a chance to beat Illinois or we're still lagging from the Ohio State game. We're still, we could have beat Ohio State. Why did that go wrong? Feeling bad for ourselves. And we come out slow, we come out bad, and we're in a dogfight with Illinois, and we end up losing the game. It can either be those two things. And if you remember last year, a kind of similar thing happened. Our first time adversity from last year, we lost to Wisconsin. It was a terrible game. It was a horrible game. Talia played a horrible game overall. And then we made it a stretch where we lost 3 in a row. Mind you, it was Penn State and Ohio State coming up next. But after the Wisconsin game where Talia was under 50% throwing, under 300 yards, we then lost to Penn State, and it was the same exact thing. He threw for under 100 yards, under 50%, and we had a stretch of a 3-game losing streak. So don't make one game turn into 2-game losing streak. That's why I'm thinking this game can tilt our season, because if we lose to Illinois and we go to 5-2, it's still good in theory. We can still get to 8 wins. Maybe we can squeak out 9. But it's the homecoming. People will be coming back for this game. And people are going to be excited to watch this Maryland Terrapin game at home after competing with Ohio State in the first half, after being 5-0 for the first time since 2001. There's going to be a lot of momentum around this program, and we have a chance to be ranked after this week if we beat Illinois. So overall, this game can either slide us down the mountain or we can keep on climbing. But that's all we have for today. Like and subscribe. We're going to be talking more about Illinois and the predictions on tomorrow's episode on Friday. So make sure you look out for that. But thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.